Hello, welcome back. I am back to talk about something you guys have chosen that I talk about. I actually asked you guys this question on Instagram, and most votes were for this particular video. So I have decided to speak about something I have never really talked about on social media before, which is my faith. So let's go. The question was, do you want to hear me talk about how I became closer to God? And then lots of people said yes. Why did I choose to say closer to God? Because I always had God in my life. So I always believed in God. I was raised a Catholic. So I was raised going to church, Catholic church, sometimes with my family. It was never a sort of every Sunday thing. It was never like that, but it was something that we were always kind of doing to some extent, and I always enjoyed it. And then I got married in a Catholic church. I had my babies, and the babies were baptized in a Catholic church, okay? But I was never a church goer. I was never somebody who went to church all the time, and I am still not. So my faith is not about church. My faith is about my relationship with God, regardless of faith. So because I feel like what kind of leads my faith is Jesus, I am then a Christian, but I don't go to church. So this is the first thing I would like to say. So I always had God in my heart and in my life, but it was never something like I had developed a relationship with God until 5 years ago, until about 6 years ago, when I received a present through the post. It was from one of my followers on Instagram, and it was this. It was this Bible. And I received it, and I liked it, but I put it aside. I kept it in a cupboard somewhere. I looked at it, but I never really looked at it. Until this same follower, who later on became a friend, messaged me a year and 4 months ago. And it was a message that spoke to me very deeply. And I love this kind of structure. Something speaks to you. This means that you feel something, okay? I was traveling with my family. And just before I traveled with my family, I was experiencing a very strange time in my life. I was feeling very negative and very low. And you will say, if you have been following me for years and you always watch my videos, you'll probably say, how? Because I never noticed that. I always watch your videos and I never noticed. Well, yeah. So this comes to show, great expression, this comes to show that social media is filtered, right? I'm not gonna record a video when I'm feeling especially negative and low. This is my job. You know what I mean? So yeah. So I was feeling quite low and quite dark, and I woke up one morning, and it's really difficult to talk about these things because some of those things you don't really know. You just do, you just feel. But what I know is I woke up one morning and I said to myself, I don't want to live like this anymore. I don't want to feel like this anymore. And then I picked up my Bible and I just opened it, and it was Jeremiah 1. And I read it, and Jeremiah 1 talks about how God knew Jeremiah from the womb, and he calls Jeremiah to do some very important things. And Jeremiah then believes he's too young for that. And God is like, no, you're not. I'm calling you because I know you can do this. And I kept on thinking about that passage the whole day. The next day, I was meant to go on a family trip, and I did. Me, my husband, and my 2 kids. And I arrived at this hotel, and this hotel was full of quotes from the Bible. It was the weirdest thing. There were just quotes from the Bible everywhere. Just everywhere you looked, there was a quote from the Bible. And this is the thing, I had brought my Bible with me on this trip. So I started reading little bits, just random bits every day whilst I was traveling for 4 days, just little bits of the Bible, okay? And this was precisely July 2024. On the very morning I was coming home, I decided to message a good friend of mine who is a believer, who is religious, who is a Christian. And I know she loves talking about this. And I messaged her and I said, what do you think of the book of Proverbs from the Bible? Do you think this is a good book to read? And she says, it can be very challenging, but an amazing book from the Bible. This was actually, I said that morning, but it wasn't. It was the night before, okay? The evening before, I sent her that message. The next day, I was coming home, I was in the car with my family, and I received a message from Anna, who is the follower and friend who gave me the Bible. And Anna then said to me, Patty, I'm starting a group to study Proverbs. Are you in? When I read her message, I started laughing because I knew when you are open to have this communication with God, He speaks to you and you actually listen. And I did, there and then, I listened. It's like I heard His voice. That's the feeling. I didn't actually, but the feeling is I heard His voice. I was like, this is not a coincidence. This cannot be a coincidence. And I just replied straight away saying, yes. Yes, I'm in. When do we start? We're starting on Monday. This was a Saturday. She said, we're starting on Monday. I came home. I started unpacking. My kids went off to play somewhere. And then my daughter came back, and Mimi, she is very sensitive, okay? And she came back and she had made a bracelet for me. And this bracelet said, I am worth it. Just completely out of the blue, you guys, out of the blue is something you cannot expect. It's just something unexpected and crazy, you know. And when I looked at the bracelet, again, I felt His voice. It's like I heard it, because this is such a godly thing to say, you are worth it. That's what God thinks of us. And I continued unpacking with this feeling, this huge feeling inside me that something big was about to happen in my life. Anyway, we started Proverbs. And Proverbs is 31 Proverbs, right? And Anna did it in 31 days, 31 consecutive days, and I did it every single day without skipping one. And I'll just show you what happened. So it was like she was sending voice messages about each one, like talking about it, studying, thinking about it and everything. So this was my Proverbs study. Yeah, all of it. This is in Portuguese. This Bible is in Portuguese. And she did the whole study in Portuguese, so that's what I did too. And every single day I sat down quietly with my Bible, with my pen, listening to her and praying and writing things down. And I had tears streaming down my face a lot of the time for no reason at all. And things started changing, okay? Now, my husband is not religious. He's very skeptical about that kind of stuff, And he didn't know that I was doing this. I think it was about 7 days into the study, he said to me, "You're different. What have you been doing? Because you're different. It's just, you're very different now." And then I told him, and he said, "You know what? You keep doing that because something amazing is happening with you. You keep doing that." So I did. When I finished Proverbs, I did another study with Anna for a couple of weeks, and then another one, and then another one. But this other one was Psalms, and I did not complete it. Psalms is a book that doesn't speak to me very much. I find it very negative. I don't particularly like it. So then, this was a turning point. A turning point is a moment in your life where something changes, okay? So this whole experience was my turning point. But it wasn't linear. So ever since July last year, it wasn't like I have been super close to God every single day and praying every single day and worshiping every single day. No, it's ups and downs all the time. But what I feel is that I have opened this door. So the presence of the Holy Spirit of God is very alive for me. So every time I am distancing myself, he pulls me in. And it's always through people. And a lot of the time it is through students. And it is through followers. Like, people will message me when I'm having one of those days that I'm not feeling so good. And this person who does not know me, it's just a follower on Instagram, will say, "Patty, I had a dream that I was asking God for a reason to continue to study English, and then I came across your video today and I knew that was my answer." Like, stuff like that. And students, and I made a great friend with one of my students. We became really, really close, and she is amazing. She's a massive believer of Jesus Christ. And together we have been studying the Bible in English now. So that's incredible. That's really incredible. And I just know that my life feels different with God in it. I totally understand those who don't believe, and my husband believes in something bigger, but he doesn't personify. He doesn't see it as like a person figure, right? And that's fine. But I'm talking about people who don't believe in anything bigger. That's okay too. Totally respect that, 100%. But I'm talking for myself now. I'm speaking for myself. My life makes so much more sense when I look at Jesus as my guidance. I love it. I love it. Right? So reading the Bible in English has been yet another discovery for me. And I recommend you do that. I do. Because it can make you see English differently as well. And yeah, so that's how I got closer to God. And I never want to look back. To look back is to go back to your old ways. I never want to look back, because life feels absolutely beautiful with him in it. It's just amazing. I am so much more aware of my flaws. Your flaws are the bad things about you. I'm so much more aware. And I work so much harder to not allow these flaws to become who I am. And I hope that you are able to open yourself up to really hear his voice, the voice of the Holy Spirit of God, talking to you and moving you in ways only he can. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this practice today. See you later. Thank you for watching. Bye.